Hi all, it's Freddie from Blue Marine Foundation here today, and we're here with the National Trust down in St Juan's at Latac, right on the northwest coastline. And today we're going to talk you through some of the kind of best processes and best practices around low tide fishing. So one of the first things to note when you are going low tide fishing is to obviously take note of the tide and what that's doing. Today low tide's about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and it's a big spring tide, and we're just coming after a full moon. So it's a almost a 12 metre tide. I think it's 11.8 metre low tide today, so we've got plenty of time here. It's important not to be caught out by that rising tide.
So with these cushion stars, they dry out very quickly. So if you're inspecting them at all, it's important to keep them covered.
So when you're putting the rocks back, make sure you place them down gently, just so that you don't damage any of the animals that are living underneath it, and also if there's any crabs or anything lying in the sediment as well. So make sure you just put that back gently. Any porcelain crabs here?
One of my favourite little things. Very hardy, very flat. You'll find them a lot under these rocks.
Small nudibranch here, another sea hare. The next few months we'll start seeing a lot more of these in the intertidal areas, and they'll be a lot bigger as well. So this one's quite small, but another reason why you need to be mindful of where you're putting your feet. This is known as a Montague's crab, also known as a furrowed crab. You can see it looks a bit like a shanker with its broad claws. You can see its furrows on its top shell, so that's why it's known as a furrowed crab. Another important code of conduct that is really kind of best practice around Jersey and really anywhere where you're low tide fishing is that you should only really take what you want to eat. There's no point in taking or damaging any animals that you don't want to eat or take home. So just make sure that you're not catching more than you really need to eat. So that's always a really important thing to note. And if any animals that you are returning back, make sure you turn them back into the same place where you caught them from, and that they're returned undamaged as well. We really want to minimise their impact when low water fishing. So here we have a shanker crab, otherwise known as a brown crab or edible crab. This one's obviously very small, it's a juvenile. But if you are low tide fishing for these, you have to kind of follow by their minimum landing sizes. So you can only keep these crabs if they are greater, well, if they're either 150 millimeters or greater. This one, for example, if you were to measure one, this is how you would measure it. Kind of get to the back of the crab, and you're measuring on the carapace length here. So this one measures at 60 millimeters, so 6 centimeters. So it's about 90 millimeters off. So if you're ever going low water fishing in Jersey, the best thing that you can do ahead of that is just to check the government advice and the government guidelines on up-to-date minimum landing sizes and catch seasons. So for instance, if you're low tide fishing for ormers, you can only really do that between the months of October and April. And you can only do that on a full or a new moon and 5 days following that new moon or full moon. And so it's important to be mindful of kind of those closed seasons and those open seasons for specific species like ormers or like bass, but bass you're not low tide fishing. And for minimum landing sizes as well, so we have, for ormers it's 90 millimeters. So today it's actually the 4th day of a full moon. So if we find some ormers that are over 90 millimeters, we could keep them if we wanted to, but today we're not going to. Exactly what we saw yesterday. So we have 2 ormers here. I was actually out here yesterday looking for ormers, and these 2 that we found are exactly in the same spot. So even after a big tide, the ormers quite like to stay around a certain area, and both of them were still on the exact same rock as the day before. So if you come a bit closer, Let me show you kind of a bit closer these ormers. So we've got a really good size ormer here. You can see it up against my hand. And if you're, as we've kind of spoken about earlier, you are allowed to catch ormers at certain times of the year, so between October and April, and only on full moon and new moon tides, and 5 days following that full moon or new moon. So today is day 4 of a new moon, which means you can take an ormer, but it has to be over a certain size. And the minimum landing size for an ormer is 90 millimeters, which is about that big. So let's see if we are oversized, and we're easily oversized. So this one is actually 105 millimeters, so 15 centimeters. So if we wanted to, we could take that one. And if you look a bit closer, there's another ormer right here. 2 ormers on one rock. You can see that here. This one is a bit smaller. Let's see what size this one is. This one's about 85, so we would have to leave that one if we wanted to take it. Okay, so that's it for today. We're back on dry land. The tide is still way far out there, so we had plenty of time to spare. So hopefully that gave you a bit of insight into kind of the correct codes of conduct for low water fishing, and a bit of insight into minimum landing sizes and things like that, and kind of best practices for low water fishing, and also kind of open seasons for certain species. So best take-home message from me at Blue Marine, I think, is to be mindful of the government advice, the recreational fishing and the low water fishing guidelines. You can find them on their website. It gives you all the information about the open seasons, all the different species you might catch, and also, most importantly, the minimum landing sizes for things like ormers, shagger crabs, lobsters, and scallops as well.